Have you ever sat through endless corporate meetings and thinking and pondering that I have learned so much over the years, but how little I'm actually using this in the holistic sense? Because what happens in the corporate job often is that we limit ourselves into only a very specific area or a specific role, while our knowledge is a lot more. And you eventually get into a stage where you feel like, is it possible to do something on my own, where I could apply all my experiences, all my skills, all my knowledge, and perhaps do something to help a business grow. And if this is where you are, this is probably the beginning of a new transition, of a new journey sort of brooding. Transitioning to a consulting career is something that may give you that fulfillment. Having said that, becoming an independent consultant, becoming a freelance consultant is easier said than done, because there are multiple skills required when you become independent. It's not just about your domain knowledge, it's not just about your technical skills, it's not just about your experience, but you also need to bring in your entrepreneurship skills to lead or live a successful, fulfilled, joyful consulting career, especially when you are at mid 40s or late 40s or even early 40s and in 50s. So I'm going to talk about 5 core skills that are critical for you to transition into a successful consultant and establish a consulting business or consulting practice. When I left the corporate world, I was in my late 40s, and like many other corporate professionals, I wanted freedom, I wanted flexibility, and I also wanted fulfillment. Now, I knew that the experience that I have, the skills that I developed over the years, and the knowledge that I bring in my functional area, which is marketing, consulting would be the right way to go about. One of my other videos, and I'll put a link over here, you may have seen that I was talking about Arthur Brooks' book of Strength to Strength, where Arthur Brooks specifically refers to a framework, which basically says there is curve 1 and there is curve 2. The first curve is during your 20s and 30s, where you are in the peak of you're at the peak of your innovation, speed, execution. And the second curve, if you really want to extend your career, instead of as you hit your 40s and late 40s, your cognitive ability starts declining, and you get a feel that I'm not anymore that kind of sharp and agile and fast in terms of execution. While you continue to push yourself, chances are that you are looking to slow down, or your brain is telling to slow down, but you still like what you do, you still have a lot of knowledge, you still have a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience, and what you want is essentially to bring all of them, and that's the reason you are looking for a consulting career. And that's where Arthur Book said that a job for consulting is like moving or transitioning from your curve 1 to curve 2, from moving from fluid intelligence to crystallized intelligence. Crystallized intelligence is basically bringing in all your experience, your subject matter expertise, your functional expertise, your technical expertise, along with your experience over the years that you have accumulated, apply them in a way that helps you to help companies or businesses to grow. In my case, it was a transition from moving from a corporate marketing career to moving into an independent freelance consultant work. And that's exactly what I have tried. But the transition wasn't that easy. As I mentioned, that to lead a successful life of an independent consultant, a life of fulfillment, freedom, and meaning, there are multiple skills that are required. One, factor is your technical skills, your functional skills, your years of experience, but there are other skills that are also at play here. And I'm going to talk about 5 of those skills that I discovered after reading Arthur's book and leading a consulting practice myself for last 3 years. And now, I earn a decent amount of money. I have a complete freedom of my time, and I have been able to choose whom I want to work with, and that gives me a lot of pleasure and satisfaction internally to carry out this work and extend my work much beyond 50s and 60s. And that was a transition that I made. And if you are someone that you're looking to do a transition because you have that knowledge, the insights, the wisdom, the technical know-how, these are the 5 skills that I came across, and I found that they're very, very useful while building this. The number one skill is your technical skills. We already spoke about that, the subject matter expertise. It could be a functional area. In my case, it was marketing, but it could be HR. It could be, for example, technical skills like programming. It could be project management, program management. It could also be finance. It could be healthcare. Healthcare is more of an industry, and I'll talk about the industry. But you could also be someone who is a creative professional. You could be also someone who was a product person, and you want to help people build products because you have an expertise of product management, managing product life cycles. So that's an expertise that is very critical. It's all the more critical because companies or businesses will hire you specifically to add more value to that specific area, which is your functional area. The second is industry. Certain skills like marketing to some extent is almost horizontal. So I come from a tech marketing or a tech industry background. But even if you're at healthcare, there are some nuances because it's a heavily regulated industry. But you could also be from maybe banking and financial services industry. You could also be from manufacturing. You could also be from hospitality and travel. Each of these has its own nuances. Marketing kind of is like a horizontal skills, but I still feel that industry skills actually value. So when I today consult, all my clients are actually in the tech industries because that's where I can maximize my value for them and they get maximized value from me. It's a win-win for them. So think about industry as well. So it's a combination of your functional and your industry experience. That's very critical, and you need to kind of crystallize that what is the kind of value that you want to bring in terms of your offerings, in terms of your value, in terms of in the cross section of industry and your functional area. The number two is which is also very important, and I learned over the period of last 3 years, is your project management and time management skills. Now companies or businesses hire you for either for a project or for a specific function. Like I work for startups as fractional CMO. What it means is that I'm kind of their CMO on as an advisor or as a consulting CMO, but I'm not in their full-time payroll, which means I give certain number of hours in a day or week or a month, and I get paid on a monthly basis, and it's more of a retainer model. Then some of the clients that I work with also are project based, and some of the client that I work with is also could be just they want an hour or two consulting because I have certain domain expertise. So if they want to know about marketing technology industry, if they want to talk about customer engagement platforms, so they hire me for an hour or two and they give me a certain dollar rate per hour. So these are different engagement models. For each of these areas, one of the key skills that actually cuts through, which is foundational, is your project management skill. Because you need to value your own time and you need to value time for the businesses that they have hired you. So I think That's a very important part, and that kind of correlates to your time management. Because if you are not good at time management, maybe as a consultant you need to tighten that area. You need to figure that out, that how can you maximize your time, improve your productivity, so that it becomes win-win for you and your customer. The second important skill that people hire you for is problem solving skills. Now, company doesn't hire you for execution. Usually they have execution workforce, and they're not too worried about the execution part. They hire you to bring in clarity, bring in a method to the madness. And as a consultant, your job is to bring that level of clarity. And consulting, over the years, what I understood is uses different kind of frameworks. So you can bring in or deploy different kind of frameworks. For example, business canvas model. For example, jobs to be done, design thinking, SWOT. Many of these, and if you take a larger uh, sort of consulting business model where McKinsey popularized 7S uh, framework to do problem solving. Now, some of these can be used in parts to solve a small problem. Some of these can be used holistically to solve a larger problem. So, use, and I'll talk about some of these problem solving um, frameworks or models in the upcoming videos. But keep that in mind, that when you bring a certain what you are trying to do is to bring clarity, and you want to give the path ahead for them to execute faster. So that's the value that you want to bring in. And often consulting can be really powered by multiple of these proven frameworks. So that's another part. Number four is listening and communication skills. It sounds very simple. It sounds that it's a common sense, right? But I'm sure you must have seen, and I have seen that enough, that how often the details are overlooked just because we don't pay attention. How often a brief goes wrong just because we were not attentive. And that's your listening skills. I think communication skills overall, because you are here to understand a customer's problem inside out, and then you are going to bring in outside in view. So communication skills, both in terms of language and in terms of body language and in terms of your maturity to understand the business and connect that to a framework or a model that you have already worked in the past and with your experience, that plays a very important role. So communications in terms of both language and in terms of your listening skills combined with that can help you a long way to build confidence, build trust with your client, and eventually build that image of dependable and trustable, and also someone who understands what is needed. And number five, which is, I think, one of the most overlooked by many technical people, many creative people, is essentially sales and negotiation skills. It doesn't matter how good you are at your craft, it doesn't matter how much experience you have, doesn't matter how much wisdom and clarity you bring in, eventually you need to identify a customer. Eventually you need to pitch to that customer about what you can do, and that requires sales skill, and then close the deal so that you have the opportunity or the project or the fractional CMO kind of or in my case it's a fractional CMO, that kind of work, so that you have either you have a retainer model or a project model and whatnot. But essentially sales and then negotiation, you have pitched something and there will be pushback from the client. You need to bring in your point of view, the client will bring in their point of view. If you are unable to negotiate, it will always look like a skew that eventually make you frustrated and feel drained, and eventually it will remind you that why you left corporate job, because there you had boss. The reason you have taken the consulting work is because you want to ensure that you are able to utilize the best way your skills, and therefore this negotiation skills is very important. When necessary, push back, and when necessary, step back, um, to eventually close a deal and create a very satisfactory relationship. So 5 skills we spoke about. Just to summarize, the number one skills we said is your technical skills, which is essentially a combination of your functional or domain skills plus industry skills. Number two is your project management and time management. Number three, your ability to basically your problem solving skills using certain framework and models which are proven. Number four is essentially your listening and communication skills. And number four is your sales and negotiation skills. These are 5 skills that you may want to consider if you really want to transition into a consulting career. So if you like the content of this video, if you found it is useful, give me a thumbs up, and also let me know that you are watching this and you find value out of that. And if you want to see more videos of like this, then please subscribe to my channel, and leave your comments if there are any comments that you feel you need more information on, or you're curious to know any specific point that I made in this video. But for this video, we will wrap up here, and I will see you in another video. So this is Jaideep signing off. Thank you very much for your time if you have stayed till the end, and I'll see you in the next video.